Hey everyone, welcome back to Bewitching Brain. We're so happy to have you with us and encourage you to subscribe and share. Take good care, be safe, and help others be safe. My name is Brett, and I'm an MD candidate at the Medical College of Wisconsin. In the last video, we talked about cross-sectional anatomy of the spinal cord. We also reviewed how sensory information gets to and from sensory receptors to the brain via the spinal cord. In this video, we'll be discussing how the brain sends signals to muscles to allow for voluntary movement. The lateral corticospinal tract is an upper motor neuron tract that originates consciously in the brain at the primary motor cortex. Neurons travel down from the brain through the brainstem into the spinal cord and synapse on the motor neurons that innervate our distal muscles. This tract functions to provide us with fine-tuned voluntary motor control over our extremities and perform tasks that require dexterity, such as playing a piano. Because the neurons that make up the lateral corticospinal tract originate in the cerebral cortex, the part of the brain that controls the left arm and foot is actually the right brain, and vice versa for the right side of the body. We will explore the reason for this on the next slide. The corticospinal tract can be broken down into two functional parts. The first is a neuron that originates in the primary motor cortex. From the primary motor cortex, this neuron travels down to the part of the brainstem called the medulla. In the medulla, the neuron crosses from one side to the other so that by the time it reaches the spinal cord, it is traveling on the opposite side from which it originated in the cortex. This neuron crossing is called desiccation, and this explains why the left half of the brain is responsible for controlling muscles on the right side of the body. Once it has crossed, this neuron will travel down the spinal cord in the lateral white matter as a group of neurons collectively called the lateral corticospinal tract. At each level of the spinal cord, neurons that make up the lateral corticospinal tract will make their way into the anterior horn, where they will synapse with second neuron in the two-part chain. This second neuron is an alpha motor neuron, and it will leave the spinal cord via the ventral horn. After leaving the spinal cord, these motor neurons continue as peripheral nerves throughout the body until they reach their target muscles. For the lateral corticospinal tract, these are muscles that make up the distal limbs, such as the muscles of the forearms and fingers. At the target muscle, the motor neuron synapses with the muscle where it releases acetylcholine that will trigger contraction of the muscle. Once again, a huge thanks to Dr. Patitucci for her spinal cord illustrations. Next time, we will discuss reflexes. Please join us. Thanks for listening, Brainiacs. Tune in next time for more.